What's up, everybody? It's Tuesday night. You know what that means? It's Flyers Talk A2D. Starting off a little bit on a somber note here. As most of you already know at this point, last Friday we lost two really great people in a drunk driving accident. And rumor was right. Johnny and Matthew Gaudreau both killed in the accident. So we're going to pay a little tribute to the brothers, you know, being from South Jersey, and we are in that New Jersey area. So we're going to definitely pay tribute to these guys for what they've done on and off the ice. We're also going to discuss who's the favorite to win the Calder. We got a bunch of good names out there. So second half of the show, we're going to discuss that. So make sure you guys hit that like, hit that subscribe, turn on the notifications, and let's get the chat going tonight. Let's throw your favorite Johnny Gaudreau memories in there, whether it's from on the ice or off the ice, or things he did in high school, things that he did in college. Let's make this really good for Johnny. Let's represent. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. Let's go talk about it.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new edition of Flyers Talk A2D right here on A2DRadio.com. I am Matt Tsutsui along with the Dark Wing, Brian Daly.
What's going on, everybody?
Mr. Blue Shirt, Mr. Broadway, Mr. Switzerland, Big Bad Brad Ryer. And unfortunately today, we are here in a somber mood because, unfortunately, like Brian said in the opening, tragically, Johnny Gaudreau and his brother, Matthew Gaudreau, were killed by a drunk driver. And unfortunately, it is one of the biggest tragedies that has hit hockey in the last 10 to 15 years. I mean, maybe of all time, because it is such a tragedy that two players, two brothers, two human beings who were just biking, and sadly their lives were ended in a tragic moment. But we will do our best to pay tribute to both of them and to their careers and to the legacy that they leave behind for us hockey fans to enjoy and remember them forever from. And our show tonight is brought to you by the doc, Dr. Paul Vidal, over at Specialized Physical Therapy. If you have any aches and pains, go to the doc and hit up specializedphysicaltherapy.com and then go seek their teams over in Cherry Hill or Burlington, New Jersey. Once you're done with those sessions, you won't feel so bad anymore and you'll be as good as new. And the poll question for today is, the Gaudreau Brothers' legacy will be more for what they did off the ice than on it. Agree or disagree?
I'm going to agree to this. And a lot of the reason why I'm going to agree to this is because of the impact that these two gentlemen had in this area. I'm a lot closer to this area than you guys are. But I'm sure you guys felt it too. This shook the entire community. This whole thing, like, everybody can say the Pelle Lindbergh crash was devastating, which it absolutely was. But this was a homegrown kid. This is a kid from this area, and it really hit home. This guy was an absolute scumbag for his reactions to everything, to openly admitting he was drunk behind the wheel, to driving aggressively as he was. It's just, use your brain. This could have been avoided, but that's besides the point. That's me getting off the subject here. John and Matt have done so much for this community. during the off season. Johnny does checking for charity at HollyDell, which their dad owns. Matt coaches at Gloucester Catholic now, and did coach at Gloucester Catholic, running the hockey team there. Matt not obviously having the lucrative NHL career that Johnny does, but both men sitting there and unable to, or never turned a kid away, never turned an opportunity to sign an autograph away. These guys did so much more for hockey off the ice than they did on. I mean, Johnny, amazing talent. He was, he may not have been my fit for the Flyers, but never once did I take the talent away from him, because he was an absolutely amazing player and an amazing person. And from what I've been reading throughout, not just the NHL, but from his wife Meredith and his sister Katie, and haven't seen anything from Kristen yet, but this family has, it's a travesty what's happened. It's absolutely tragic, and no family should ever have to go through this. But yeah, I agree. I think their legacy, especially in our community down here in South Jersey, their legacy is going to be more so for what's off the ice than what was on the ice. These boys are going to be missed, and not just from their brethren on the respective teams that they played for, but for this small community, the massive hockey community that loved watching Johnny play. And it's just tough. It's a tough loss. Like I said, it's hit home. It's really hit home for me more so being in the hockey community, but it's tragic, and Johnny and Matt, I hope that you guys are flying high, and you're going to be missed very much.
Yeah. I definitely think that their legacy, I think anybody's legacy is more than what they just did when they were famous. I think anyone who has that kind of outreach, if they've done charities, if they've done foundations, if they've built businesses, or they've done anything that is outside of the sport, or outside of acting, or outside of whatever it is that famous person you might be talking about at that moment, their legacy is always going to transcend what they did and what they did by what made them famous, basically, at the end of the day. And I think that they will definitely have their legacy, not just from their on ice, but also off the ice as well, because it'll have such an effect on other people's lives, because of the charities, and because of the coachings as well, and because of the teachings that can come from that. Because coaching, like for Matthew's side of it, coaching has an effect on a young player, not just during the season and not just in the sport itself, but also in life. A good coach teaches you great life lessons too.
Absolutely. And the attachment to HollyDell Ice Arena over in Sewell, which is about 15 minutes from where I live, it's absolutely heartbreaking to see, just the people talking and seeing the massive memorial that fans and teammates and players are all putting out outside of the arena. It's heartbreaking. It's a little too real for me. When I went on Friday night, it hurt. Like I dealt with too much in my life as far as all that stuff goes. But this one, it was intense. Not gonna lie, it's intense, especially with Guy Gaudreau, Johnny and Matthew's father, owning the building. It's tough. It's a tough situation, and I just absolutely it breaks my heart that this family is just going through this.
I know. Just the tragedy of losing one son, but you lost both. And like you said, through something that could have been avoided. And it's just
on their sister's wedding day, nonetheless. Like that, like how
exactly.
Like, I've been like I'm fairly religious person. This is what I'm saying. Like, this strength that God is giving this family right now, having to deal with the announcement of their brother's death on your wedding day, would absolutely tear me apart.
Right.
And then on top of it, like, and you know, more like they've been discharged, so they're doing much better, hopefully. Guy Gaudreau and Mama Gaudreau both being put in the being hospitalized themselves for after the news. Like, this family is being tested so hard right now, and you know, there's definitely a Holy Spirit watching over this family for not just the way that they're handling it, but with such grace and such strength. I don't know if anybody's seen Meredith, Johnny's wife's post a day after they announced it. Katie's post. It's this family's doing it right. They're doing it with class, and they know that this isn't goodbye for Johnny and Matt. They know that Johnny and Matt's going to be a part of their lives until they meet again on the golden streets.
Right. And, you know, before we go to Brad, you know, one of the things that I will say to finish off my statement is, it's like you said, Bri, could have been avoided. For everyone out there who wants to have a drink or have a good time, it's fine. But just don't drive. Get an Uber. Have a designated driver. You know, it's, you know, a long time ago on A2D, we did have music shows at one point. I produced one of them, and the Hetman was in charge of the classic rock show. And he always said, if you're going to drink, don't drive. The life you save could be your own. And he's very right in that. And in this case, not only could it be your own life, it could be another innocent life. So whatever you do, just, if you're going to drink, don't drive. Please don't. You know, there are options now. If you have your car there, I understand. But at the same time, it's like, don't drive it. Don't drive it. Please don't. You know, it's just, we saw what happened, you know, and 2 people are gone. And that's not including how many others have tragically passed away by drunk driving. So just don't.
You're affecting way too many lives. You're going to destroy not just your life, you're destroying another family's life. And on top of it, if you're married like this guy is, you're destroying your wife's life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not worth it.
Yeah. Brad, go right ahead.
Well, I don't really know him or know the family, because originally I'm not from South Jersey, as you guys probably know. I'm from East Brunswick, which is North Jersey, Central Jersey to North Jersey. So I mean, I don't know all the things you guys know about him, but I can say this, and what an inspiration he always was. As far as I'm concerned, you know, I'm not a tall guy, and especially when I was a kid, I was always one of the shortest guys in school. And the fact that this fellow was 5'9" and weighed 165 pounds, and was a whirling dervish on the ice, incredibly skilled, and he was a pretty tough kid too. You know, and a lot of players really, really respected him. I mean, I was going back and watching some Calgary Edmonton games, you know, just on the internet, and all the fights that occurred between those 2 teams. Gaudreau was never part of that. Never saw him in the middle of that. He never did that. He just played the game. Now, was he a little chippy sometimes? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's, you know, at his size, you got to be like that. But when you consider the guy was 5'9", 165 pounds, okay, and the years he played, how many years he's played, and he's still playing pretty well. You know, it's freaking amazing what he accomplished, and the inspiration that he probably gave to, I would say, thousands and thousands of kids who wanted to play hockey but weren't very big. You know, and you know, and it's not like he's from Canada where there's ice all the time, or Minnesota where there's ice all the time. He's from New Jersey, and he's always, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, I called him our prodigal son on Friday when when we opened up when the final whistle opened up, and the first thing we did was just make a brief mention of it, of what happened. He was always kind of New Jersey's prodigal son, and as a Ranger fan, two prominent New York Rangers played with him at BC, and you'd always hear stories of how when when Johnny in particular would come to town and play the Devils or the Rangers, Chris Kreider and Kevin Hayes were always at the games watching them. And Chris Kreider and Kevin Hayes played on his line in Boston College. Johnny Gaudreau is the kind of guy that, he wanted to make sure he played in college hockey for 1 year with his brother. So instead of playing, he turned down the money after he got drafted and played one more extra year at Boston College so he could play with Matthew. I mean, you hear all these things and it's just like, wow, what a nice guy, what an incredible guy. And the fact that he never got to play, it's kind of a shame that he, Kevin, and Chris never got to play on the same team. It is kind of a shame because we were always hoping to see that happen somehow, some way. Just like Mark Stahl, we always wanted to see one of his brothers come, and Eric came, which was awesome. It's the same kind of thing with Johnny. We all wanted to see him end up with the Rangers playing with Kreider and Hayes back in the 14-15 time period. When they both came up. Because Kreider, I think Hayes came up a year after Kreider, and it was that I think got him from Chicago in a trade, and he played right away. But Kreider came up the year before. The fact that all three of them were at Boston College, it was just when they played against each other, it was really cool because you could see that they were like they'd be pushing back and forth and laughing at each other.
Right.
Their little skirmishes in the corner, and they'd be laughing at each other, and that's the kind of thing you just love to see. And it really kind of sucks because as a fan of any kid that played in New Jersey, this guy was our greatest player, without a doubt. And we could be really proud of what he accomplished on the ice. The fact that he's such a good guy off the ice, it just kind of warms the cockles of your heart to know that. And
right.
I got to tell you, I was really, really bummed out about this whole thing. It really bothered me. And the fact that it was a drunk driver kind of made me angry.
Right.
It's like, come on.
Right.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And the day of his sister's wedding, what the? It's really upsetting.
It does. It is very upsetting. And Benny's does bring up a good point here. He's saying, have to feel for Kevin Hayes as well, losing his brother, and then Matthew and Johnny on top of it.
Yeah, I mean, all three of those guys, Kevin, Chris, and Johnny. They're from what I understand, they were pretty tight, and they were always, texting each other back and forth and stuff like that. During the season, they always maintained a friendship. So, it's just, as I said, it's kind of a shame that Johnny never got to play for the Rangers, and we never got to see him with his with his two buddies playing on the same line, like they did in Boston College. But that must have been one hell of a team, by the way.
I think, did they win a championship?
I don't know if they won a championship, but
he won the Hobie Baker. I know that.
Okay.
Well, Johnny did, yeah. But I mean, what's funny? If you took a look at like his statistics, right? See, even in Catholic school, okay, he scored 48 points in 14 games.
In 14 games?
Yeah. In 2009, 2010, in 14 games, 21 goals and 27 assists. I mean, you tell me that people weren't expecting him to probably to have a shot at the NHL with numbers like that. Because South Jersey hockey has always been extremely competitive, and to have numbers like that is just ridiculous. And then in the USHL, before he went to Boston College, okay, in 60 games for the Dubuque Fighting Saints. 36 goals, 36 assists, 72 points in 60 games. And his last year in Boston College, in 40 games, 36 goals, 44 assists, 80 points. That was his Hobie Baker year. I mean, the stuff he did as a youngster before he even got to the NHL, you could see this guy was what kind of talent this guy was. And the fact that as a 4th-round pick to do what he did is just, it's amazing.
Well, me, Metal Mike's throwing out Johnny Gaudreau's best memory for me was when he scored that crazy goal in the playoffs for Calgary.
Oh, the double overtime.
I think
What was
so.
the double overtime? Where he scored the winning goal to send them to the next round. If that's the one that Mike is talking about. I know what one. That's one of his best moments.
That was against who? Was it?
I want to say Dallas.
Was it Dallas? I don't think it was Dallas because I think Dallas beat them. Was it Winnipeg?
No. I can say right now it wasn't Winnipeg.
No, because they did dominate Winnipeg in that qualifier before they faced off with Dallas in the first round in the bubble.
It was Dallas.
He did score it against Dallas.
It was Dallas. Yeah.
It was still a great memory though, still a great goal. Whether they won that series or not doesn't matter. The fact is that was still a great goal. That was a great series between Calgary and Dallas.
That went full 7.
It did. And you know what's funny? You wouldn't have thought it with the way that Dallas came into that playoffs. They came in as cold as could possibly be. It looked like Dallas is going to get wrecked by whoever comes out of the qualifiers. And they took on Calgary like, oh boy, they're in a lot of trouble because Calgary just absolutely manhandled Winnipeg right out. And it turned out to be one of the best matchups of the first round was that series between Dallas and Calgary. I mean, what a battle it was at the end of the day. And that went to show it's like, man, it's a shame that Calgary never really got it together while he was there because, man, when they were on, they were good and they were scary good. It's like, man, if they had just fixed a few things, they were tweaking a few things here, man, if they could just get the pieces to fall into place, Calgary could have been something really great with him. It's a shame that it didn't work out that way.
Yeah, all the pieces fell apart.
Yep.
Kachuk left. Johnny left, all in the same offseason.
Mm-hmm.
He had to start over. I mean, I would love Dylan to jump in the chat here and get in on this. But I saw Mike, I saw your comment here, bud, about the stats his rookie season. Johnny Gaudreau, in his first full year, because he basically just pulled what Carter Gauthier pulled. He played one game. Sorry, my ADD just totally kicked, and I saw somebody walking up the path in my apartment complex. Sorry, my bad. Squirrel. In his first full NHL season, he posted 24 goals, 40 points for 64. I'm sorry, 24 goals, 40 assists for 64 points. He was a plus 11 in 80 games in his first full season with Calgary.
Wow. That's a damn fine rookie season right there.
Mm-hmm. And little did we know the magic that he was gonna put out on us. I mean, he had a couple shaky seasons, but I mean, I would never really sit there and say that he had bad seasons, but in 2019, 2020, 18 goals, 40 assists for 58 points. He was a minus 10. I don't fully blame him for that. They didn't really stock him up that year. They were still waiting on a couple guys to really put with him. And then the following season in 56 games, he had 19 goals, 30 points for 49. Again, rough season. I think 2020, 2021, I feel like for some reason in my mind was a shortened season because it was the COVID year.
It was.
So,
So if you equate it out, though, that's not too bad.
That's not bad at all.
Yeah, that's 56 games. Mm-hmm. That's the full year. So, and you're only playing Canadian teams because Calgary was in that division that was just all Canada. Mm-hmm. And then also, but then the next year, he had the full 82, 40-75. He had 115 points. So it's just like, geez,
that
what a
season was
bounce
some
back.
season for him.
What a bounce back from having a couple of rough years. Like, man, he was back at it. Amazing season.
And he still put up good numbers with the crappy Columbus team too. So that goes to show you the talent that this kid had.
Yeah.
And nobody will ever doubt that. I never doubted that. Johnny was an amazing hockey player. I wish I'd gotten to see him locally.
Right.
It's a shame though. He came up right after Iginla left.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he just missed Iginla, and I'm trying to remember who else. He just missed Kiprusoff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there were some great Flames that he came up right after they left, and it would have been nice to see what he won, especially especially with Iginla out there. I mean, boy, oh boy, could you imagine those two on the same line? One's a right wing and one's a left wing.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been great. And you know what else would have been crazier? Because he would have been working with Iginla. Iginla would have taught him so much, and he probably would have had even better stats right out there.
Yeah, nobody, and you know what? Nobody would have touched him.
Yeah, nobody.
Nobody would go near him because Iginla may have scored 50 goals a season, but he was also a crazy.
He could handle himself. He could handle himself. Okay.
Yeah, he was basically Chris Simon with a lot of skill.
Yes, there's one of the many things that was great about him.
Yeah, ask Vinny Lecavalier how much he would actually back away.
Oh, everybody! Oh boy! Nobody really wanted to get him mad.
No.
Because you're either going to get scored on, look stupid, or get the crap kicked out of you.
Right.
Yeah, and you know what the other thing was? If you remember, he was a left-handed fighter. So I mean, most people were right-handed. So he'd get you before you even knew what. Like when you drop your gloves with him, you get popped right away because it takes time to get used to a lefty, and he would pop you right away, and you were done.
I mean,
that made him so tough.
I will say this too, also. With his numbers, there's no doubt in my mind that by the time he would have retired, he would have been in the Hall of Fame, whether he would have won the cup or not. I think if he had kept up the stats that he was keeping up, he would have made the Hall of Fame. He absolutely would have.
He's only 31. I mean, he probably would have had. He really just needed to get 1,000 points, to be honest with you, and I think he would have gotten that easily.
Yeah,
743.
Yeah,
at this point in 763 games, so he's just shy of being a point per game player.
Right. Yeah, so he definitely would have been in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and he would not have been one of the guys that would have got in because of a cup. No, it wouldn't have mattered whether he had won one or not in his career because he would have been that good. It's like you have to put him in. He would have been one of the greatest U.S. players of all time. He's right up. He would have been right up there with Kane,
and Madonna,
and Roenick. All the guys who you think of, Joe Pavelski. These are guys who are U.S.-born players. Zach Parise. All of them U.S.-born players, and all of them were phenomenally talented.
He was right up there. U.S.-born, or did he?
Hull was U.S.
I think he was.
Yeah, I think Hull was U.S. I believe.
Hull and Pat LaFontaine too.
Yes, LaFontaine was U.S. and yes, Brian Leach was American too. Actually, I think Leach was from Texas.
Yes, he was.
You might be right. I honestly don't know.
But, yeah, no, he's absolutely from Texas. I know that.
That caught me off guard.
I believe Corpus Christi.
Corpus Christi. Wow. So he was almost at the border of Texas and Mexico.
Yep.
So that's crazy.
Yeah, I need to know that, don't I? I mean, it's a Ranger fan.
I mean, true. You are a Rangers fan, right? That would be a big thing to know. I mean, I would have.
Probably grew up in Priz's backyard.
Maybe.
Or Priz grew up in his backyard, I should say.
Maybe. Because Leach is older.
Priz is younger, so. Yes. Exactly. Math.
But you know what's funny, though? I think Leach is obviously, he's got to be the best Texas player of all time. I don't think anyone ever came close to that. Because nobody else that I know of from Texas who was U.S. hockey player-wise, not to my knowledge, that stuck out except Leach.
No, you're right. You're right.
I mean, just like Gaudreau, it would be like he's the best Jersey-born U.S. hockey player
by a mile.
Yeah, by a country mile.
Yeah.
He is absolutely that. And then forget, where's Kane from? Is he from Minnesota?
Which Kane?
Patrick Kane,
Patrick Kane, where's he
I
from?
thought he was from
Buffalo.
Oh, he's from New York. Okay.
Rochester,
Buffalo.
right?
That's
Rochester or
yeah,
Buffalo? I can't
Rochester.
remember.
Rochester's right.
yeah, so I would say
I don't know why I always linked him with Buffalo. It's because it's so close to each other.
I'm trying to think. I don't think anybody else from New York. I think Kane is the best one out of there too. So I mean, because Parisi, he's from Minnesota, so that would be interesting to find out. That's it. It's fascinating when you think about where these guys come from, what states they come from, and then you see where they're from, and you're like, wow, I did not expect them to be from that state. Like again with Leach, I did not expect him to be from Texas.
You guys remember Scott Gomez?
Scott Gomez from Alaska.
Alaska. Yeah.
Yes, definitely the best Alaskan-born hockey player.
And a lot of people had no idea he was from Alaska.
Nope.
But shout out to Jesse Bell over at Old City Sports. He does his thing. Well, I'm sorry, Jesse, I'm blanking on your podcast, brother. If you want to drop it in there, dude, I'll throw it up on the chat. But he's with Old City Sports, saying Matt signed with Westchester over the summer. Definitely sad stuff. Flyers Alley. That's it. Sorry, Jesse. I knew that. I follow you guys too, which makes me even more pissed off at myself about it.
It's all right.
All good.
What's funny is you have a hint, like right here, with one of the banners that I have, like up at the top there.
I knew it was Flyers. You know what, Matt? Shut up.
Speaking of Brian Leach, was it right here? Yeah, right behind me is Brian Leach with the Conn Smythe Trophy. Yeah, see, signed.
Yeah, so I'm gonna definitely send a plug for them. Definitely give them a follow. They're gonna do some good stuff. He's was just dropped another comment. They got some stuff coming out soon. So they do a good job over there. They support us. We support you guys. So definitely give them a follow.
Absolutely.
The hockey guys got to stick together.
Absolutely. Make this sport still number one in our hearts, and let's make it number one all over. All
Speaking
right.
of making number one, let's get us number one over on YouTube by hitting that like, subscribe, and turning on the notifications. Don't miss anything HED has to offer. We got all kinds of stuff for everybody from baseball, football, basketball. You're a wrestling fan? We got a wrestling show every Friday night after SmackDown. So just hit that like, subscribe, turn on the notifications, jump in the chat. We will love to hear from you guys. And if you can't catch us live, you can always catch us on Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple, Spreaker, wherever you get your podcast from. You can catch us there as well.
YouTube.
So anywhere you go, hit that like, hit that sub. Don't miss anything HED's got.
Me Metal Mike had an interesting one. He said, Me Metal Mike's Imagine Johnny Hockey on the Flames. I think he meant 2004 on the run to the Cup. And,
Yes.
I mean, you have Johnny Hockey on that team. Whew, and, I mean, that's a lot of skill that the Flames didn't have, actually, at the time. Because, yeah, they had a Ginla. They had a couple of other really good players. But for the most part, it was Mika that was kind of like keeping them going. There were many nights Mika stole games from teams that he had no business stealing games from. And
Soft was probably the most underrated goaltender in the history of hockey.
yeah, absolutely. I mean
he won, how many games did he win? Like 500?
Yeah, like Kiprusoff
He won
had
over 500 games, I think.
Yeah, Kiprusoff had a great career.
Yeah, he had like over 50 shutouts. I know that.
Yeah,
Philly was pulled within one.
Nice. But definitely one of those things that I will say, if Johnny's on that team in 2004, man, what a huge addition that would have been to that team. They would have absolutely loved to have that extra goalie, that extra goal scoring, because they didn't have it on that Calgary team in 04. They had some skill, but it was more of a grinded team, more of a team that liked to be a little bit more physical, like to throw it in your face.
Imagine if Nieuwendyk was still good and could play there.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a team that it was just, one win away, and they got to the finals in the first place. No one expected them to. And they knocked off Detroit in the semifinals to do it. And everybody's like, oh my God, how'd they do that? how did they just knock off Detroit? Because they were the freaking evil empire at the time.
Yeah, but if you remember, they used to choke a lot in the playoffs, though.
That's true. Detroit had a weird habit of losing to teams they had no business losing to, like LA, the one year when they had
Getting swept by the Devils in '95.
Well, yeah, that was
Are you
adding to the choker
kidding?
gimmick.
Yeah, that was so aggravating. I gotta tell you how aggravating that was.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And then, of course, who could forget the infamous one where they lost to the Sharks? And that one was pretty bad when they lost to the Sharks.
Yes.
I'm like, how did you lose to them? Like, listen, I have a soft spot for the Sharks, but even I wouldn't have picked them in that series back then. It's like
they before '97. Okay, and I won't mention who they beat.
No, thank you. I appreciate
anybody, that. But they were the playoff choke team every year. '94 losing to the Canucks in the playoffs in the semifinals, and the Rangers ended up playing the Canucks in the finals.
I mean, yeah, I guess you can say that because they
have way better players. They have much more talent than the Canucks. When I remember when the Rangers played the Canucks, I was happy that they didn't have to play Detroit. Because Detroit kind of beat the Rangers up that season.
That's all right. Back then, Detroit probably would have figured out a way.
They probably would have figured out a way to lose, but the Rangers almost didn't beat Vancouver, so it almost didn't work out that way. So.
Oh, okay. Kiprusoff won 319.
319. Okay, that's a lot of wins that nobody knew about. How many shutouts did he have? Me, Metal Mike, if you don't mind me asking.
Me, Metal Mike, or Priz, whichever one wants to look that up. Feel free to.
I think he had over 50 shutouts. I'm pretty sure.
Well, they depended a lot on Kiprusoff. Mika was such an important role to that team to survive in any environment that they were in.
Yeah, he was, as I said, he was probably the best unknown goalie of all time. And so was Cujo for a while. 41 shutouts. Okay, I know it was a lot.
Still, though, I would say I still argue this day, man. The Flyers, as much as I love Ron Hextall and everything about Ron Hextall, it's like, man, the Flyers should have just spent the money. You had no salary cap back then. Should have just gone and got somebody like Cujo and just said, let's run with Cujo. Why? Because this guy shows up in the playoffs. Like, we need a goalie. Like, imagine if the Flyers had a Cujo in net in the 90s with the Legion of Doom.
Yeah, you would have won a couple of cups with them.
That to me would have been a perfect combination. At least in my opinion, it would have been.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Hell, that's the whole reason why Detroit went and got Mike Vernon, because they were sick and tired of their goaltending coming up short on them. So they're just like, let's go get Mike Vernon.
Mike Vernon was not the best goalie in the league either.
No, but he got the job done. He got it done 3 times. Yep. So Yeah,
he won one with the Flames the year that they had Lanny McDonald in that gang. When Steve Smith scored for the Flames. Can I say that?
Yes, you can say that.
He scored for the Flames to win the series.
That was pretty funny. That was funny.
I remember that. Oh my God.
So
that was the only way they could ever lose. That Edmonton team could ever lose was on something crazy like that.
The only team that could beat Edmonton was Edmonton.
Yeah.
Prism saying he had a career .913 save percentage and 246 goals against average.
You know how good that is?
That is very good.
Yeah.
That's a damn fine career right there. But also, speaking of which, before we move on, Mimo like saying, okay, fun pick 3 great teams Johnny Hockey would have looked nasty on. Well, how about we all pick one, kind of work with that, and then we'll go to our next topic to finish off our tribute here for Johnny and for Matthew. For me, I'll go home centric. I would have loved to have seen, Mimo Mike did mention the 2010 Flyers. I would have loved to have seen it, because you imagine you had Danny Briere, who has similar size, similar build to Johnny. You imagine you had 2 guys who were small but could be a little chippy and get around and score. Like, that would be so frustrating for teams. That would have been fun to watch the two guys that might not be the biggest on the ice, but man, do they know how to strike you at your heart and just cut you off right then and there. That would have been fun to see those two.
I would have liked to have seen him on the 13-14 or 14-15 Rangers.
Makes sense. Yeah.
I mean, especially the 14-15 Rangers, the team that after they lost in the finals the following season, then they lost in 7 in the semifinals to Tampa Bay. Boy, could they have used a guy like that on their team. Oof.
So,
yeah, that I mean, could you imagine him and St. Louis as your two top left wings?
that would be crazy.
And Zuccarello, that
That would have been crazy.
I would have liked to see him play just because I would have liked to have seen him play with Hayes and Kreider too, but
Right, I got
never
you.
worked out.
Bri, what about you? What team would you have liked to have seen Johnny Hockey on?
Honestly, and this is going to kind of not be too much fun of an answer. Calgary. I thought he was a very good fit for that team. I thought he was a very good fit for the guys around him. I would have loved to see him sign an extension from there, and would have loved to see him continue his career with the Flames and see what he could do with some of the young talent that they have there now, and Connor Zary and Jake Pelletier, and now you got Jonathan Huberdeau over there. You got Nazem Kadri there. There's a lot of talent on that team. I would have loved to see him continue to grow and be a huge part of Calgary. And, I think this team would be in a much better situation.
Calgary just finished having a candlelight visual for him, by the way.
Which is, they should be doing
in front of their rink. So did Columbus, which tells you a lot when their former teams are doing it. That's awesome.
I believe,
just to show you how important he was to the community.
Yeah,
I believe, was it Benny? I forget who. Someone earlier said that the Calgary and Columbus are going to do a tribute when they face each other during the season.
Mm-hmm.
That's nice.
Columbus
to hear.
is good. Columbus is really good like that.
Yeah,
They did that. They did that for Rick Nash, and they sure as hell didn't have to do that.
No, after he left in a huff to New York.
Yeah, they still did, and I thought that showed a lot of class on their part.
Benny's is saying he would have liked to have seen him on the 03-04 Flyers. That would have been really interesting. And he goes on to say with Primo and Gagne, that definitely would have bumped up Primo's stats during the regular season, let me tell you. But also,
you imagine the speed on that line?
Well, him and Gagne would have been great. Primo could have been the guy who would have just been sitting there in front of the net and would have just been terrifying.
Somebody's got to do that on your first line.
Right. Primo would have been the perfect guy to do it because he was just tough as nails. So, Primo can handle anything. Gagne was a great passer and a good goal scorer. So him and Johnny would have worked perfectly together.
He could fly. He was a fast skater.
And also on top of it, too, him being smaller and having tougher guys back then, you wouldn't want to mess with Johnny because you want to know why. Not only could he take it, but guess who the Flyers had on the team to protect him? They had Donald Brashear, one of the baddest animals in the hockey jungle. So you didn't want to screw with any of the star players on the Flyers.
No.
Absolutely not. Well, let's see here.
Yeah. I always used to make jokes about Brashear that, from Attica State Prison, it's Donald Brashear.
Brashear.
He was crazy. Boy, oh boy.
Oh, man. Fun memories.
Yeah.
Swoopy saying the Detroit teams in the 90s. He would have fit well with those Detroit teams. That was a team that, they had some skilled players, but they had a great defense on top of it. Like, they just an all-around great, solid team. Goaltending was good. Like, pick a weak point on that Detroit team. Have fun. You're not going to find it. It's just amazing that Detroit didn't win like 7 or 8 cups during that time period with how good that team was.
They weren't that great in goal until they got when they got Hasek. Then that was it.
Well, Hasek definitely helped them in the early 2000s.
I know he wasn't in his prime, but boy, oh boy. he was still,
07. Ooh, you
he
have
was
to
still
bring up
great.
the Penguins, Mike. Come on, brother. Come on. Don't do that to us.
No,
Bring
no.
the Penguins up. I mean, yes, it would have been a terrifying line of Sid, Johnny, and Malkin. That's terrifying. But at the same time, it's like, no.
For what? They didn't have enough with Sid and Malkin on the same line.
Yeah. And at the time, they
Well,
had Jordan Stahl.
yeah, I mean, isn't that a little greedy?
Just a little. Just a little. And yes, brings up a great point from Benny. You know, got to feel for Columbus as well, and Kev Lennox, who died as well from the firework accident. You know, it's just like, my God, Columbus has lost 2 players in the span of less than 10 years through tragedy. It's just like, my God, talk about a franchise that has just never had any real luck. They've had the worst end of it.
No, and then they get line A, and then he goes into the tank.
Yeah,
he goes there and he becomes a drunk. I mean, poor Columbus. It's unbelievable. It's like there's a black cloud hanging over that franchise. Something bad always seems to happen to them, and they're such good fans. They always show up in that building, even though the team's terrible. They're still there, and they're still loud. And they're still loud as hell when you watch the games on TV. Those fans are loud as hell.
I will say I do like their goal scoring tradition where they fire the cannon off and they got AC/DC playing in the background. It's like, you know what? You guys got it down on that. I'll give you that one. At least you got that going for you. And then he also says that or the 90s Sabres. I don't know how to feel about that one because I did not like the 90s Sabres. So
that was a good team, though.
Yeah, and they always played the Flyers.
Yeah.
So it's just like, why do we always have to face the freaking Sabres? Can we face somebody else? Anybody? And then we'd face the Devils. Like, nope, never mind. Give us the Sabres. We'll take them all day. Anyway, so hated Michael Pekka. So, ladies and gentlemen, we will now transition onwards. But for final things, we'll give our final thoughts on this. You know, for Johnny and Matthew, may you both rest in peace. We thank you both for everything that you've done for the sport of hockey, for the lives you've touched, for the kids you've inspired, who will go on and take their lessons from you guys and make great things out of it. And for your family that is here, thoughts and prayers and condolences to all of you. So, Brad, any final ending you want to throw out there for Johnny and Matthew?
I think you wrapped it up very well.
Fly high, boys. You're playing in God's rink now.
Right.
Keep an eye on your sisters, your parents, your kids. Matt, your newborn, expecting soon. South Jersey's not going to be the same without you boys. I may not have known you guys personally, but I've heard too many good stories about you gentlemen, and you're definitely going to be missed, not just in the hockey community, but back home here in South Jersey.
Absolutely. All right, so we're going to try and transition as best we can from that. It's hard to do that, but we'll do the best we can. We'll go to the Calder Cup. And the reason why we are going to go to the Calder, well, not the Calder Cup, I'm sorry, Calder Trophy. There's a difference between the two. The Calder Cup is what the Hershey Bears just recently won. The Calder Trophy, though, is for Rookie of the Year. So with that being said, Matvei Michkov coming to the Flyers. Is he a Calder Cup favorite? And what other favorites might there be this year to win the Calder Trophy for Rookie of the Year? I mean, obviously, would love to see Michkov have a Calder year. That would be great for the Flyers.
He is the favorite right now on FanDuel.
That is wonderful news to hear.
I got the odds if you're interested.
Okay, go right ahead. Throw them out.
Mitchkoff is plus 350. Celebrini is plus 400. Stankoven, is that his name?
Stankoven.
Okay, on the Stars is plus 400. Cutter Gauthier, I'm not allowed to say his name, am I? All right. Well, anyway, he's 500, and Will Smith is also 500.
Okay, interesting.
So You know,
I-
the plus 350. I have a feeling when the season starts, it's going to be closer to even money. So
How come I have a terrible feeling it's going to come down to him and Gautier? I just feel like that's what it's going to wind up being. It's going to
It
just be
could.
because of just sheer silliness of the whole thing. It's going to him and Cutter are going to be the two who are going to be competing for it. Watch
they
it
are-
happen.
They
Oh, I can
absolutely
see
are
that
because you got to
happening.
look at the lines that they're going to be playing on. Cutter Gauthier, I think right now is slated to be a second line winger with Leo Carlson, and I want to say right now it's Ryan Strome.
Ooh,
So
He's going
got
to,
a
I mean, he's going to be
good
getting
passer
22,
there.
23
Yeah.
minutes of ice time a game.
Oh yeah,
Easily. I think Mitchkov will probably get the same opportunity, but I still like Mitchkov because I think he's got a little bit more talent, to be honest with you.
Priz does bring up a good point. Stankoven's probably going to get some numbers too. Being playing on Dallas, you got that opportunity right there. So that's going to.
Yeah, but how many minutes is he going to get? 12,
That is a
13
good
minutes?
question.
I mean, 12,
he's
13
gonna-
minutes a game probably. Is he going to play in the power play?
yeah, he'll play on the power play.
You
He-
think?
Yeah,
I mean, it would make sense because one thing Dallas would like to have is more goal scoring.
he's a versatile.
So-
He's a versatile forward. He can play multiple positions. He's a winger and a center.
But you think he's going to be on the first line power play though?
I didn't say he was going to be on the first line power play. I said he was
Probably
going to be on the
second.
power play.
Okay, yeah, second line, yeah, but the second power play doesn't usually get more than about 20, 30 seconds at the most for a
I mean,
penalty.
You
hey.
still get points that way, and then
Yeah, no, I realize that, but it's a little easier when you're on the first one and you get that minute and a half out there.
Well,
when
projected
you got
from
Duchesne, Sagan, and Wyatt Johnson on the first line on your first power play, and it's going to be tough to replace one of those three.
Well, that's all I'm saying. There he won't get that while Cutter Gaudreau is going to get premium power play time, and I'm sure Mitchkov will as well. They'll be on the first unit. They're going to be out there for 75% of the power play.
Oh, he'll be out there for probably most of them because we need something to get the power play going here in Philly.
Yeah, I would say Cutter's probably going to be out there to at least a minute to a minute and a half on every power play.
Yeah.
I mean that's pretty much. I would say if he's not, then there should be an investigation.
Priz is saying that Stankoven, Maverick Bork, and Jamie Benn are going to be the third line projected, and that might actually favor Stankoven for the Calder because he'll have Jamie Benn right down there to really kind of help facilitate some of that scoring opportunities for him. And Maverick Bork's not a bad player.
That's also a great third line.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
It goes to show how deep Dallas is.
Yeah, who has a third line like that?
Not many, and it shows how deep Dallas is.
Yep.
So, I mean, Stankoven might actually have a case here, if he's working with Jamie Benn all year.
I mean, Stanky looked good last year.
He
had
did.
a small window, but he's not at the skill level of Wyatt Johnson. Wyatt Johnson's on a whole nother level, but Stanky's going to be. But he's going to make a lot of noise for Dallas. He's going to put a lot of noise. A lot of pucks in the net.
for co-favorite with Celebrini. I mean, that should tell you all you need to know.
Yeah, that definitely does it too.
Yeah.
And Priz saying Maverick Bork is a rookie too. That's interesting. So Jamie Benn's going to get to work with two rookies. Interesting. I mean, Jamie Benn's a great player, so obviously that's not a bad thing to work with. To have him work with two young pups. Could teach him a lot.
I wonder about Cole Eiserman where he's going to fit into this.
Cole Eiserman is not even going to be a rookie this year. I don't even think he signed his ELC. He's going to go back. He's either going back to U.S. developmental or he's going to go to college.
Okay.
I mean, I will say this though with Celebrini. Celebrini's while I think he'll make some noise, he's playing on a really rough Sharks team. So again, now while yes, the Sharks did go and grab the goalie everybody wanted. Again, we have to pull this back a little bit. As I remember, the Sharks don't have much to put around them right now.
Celebrini does not. Celebrini is going to be up there, so you don't have to worry about that. He's going to probably be on the line with Will Smith and Tyler Toffoli,
which is
so
fine.
He's going to get plenty of opportunity.
Yeah.
He's going to be I guess he's going to be the main focus.
I would say, yeah.
I mean,
if
probably
not
second
him.
line. Put
Yeah.
Logan Couture on the first line where he belongs. I don't know who else would be up there, but I mean, Celebrini could find his way up there. But
Possibly.
I think Celebrini, Will Smith, and Tyler Toffoli would be a very strong line. I'm not sleeping on the Sharks this year. The Sharks are going to be good. They're not going to be playoff good, but they're going to be good. They're going to be a much better team than people expect them to be.
They're going to be they're going to be watchable, I think, this year, whereas last year they weren't. So it's like there's a difference, which is a step in the right direction.
but jumping back to Michkov here, the difference between Carter Gauthier, Will Smith, Macklin Celebrini, Logan Stankovic, these four guys have something in common that Michkov doesn't. They have depth. They're not relying so heavily on if somebody gets injured, what happens. Michkov, I think, is in that situation. Jim Bickle threw the comment up here earlier. If Coots can stay healthy, I absolutely believe that he can be the Calder winner, the Calder favorite, because there's nobody in the league that passes and has better vision than Sean Couturier when he's healthy. So that's really gonna help him in his purpose and his chase for the Calder. I think he could be the first Flyer to win the Calder in a long time, if ever.
Actually, John Melma said he would be the first Flyer to ever win
Barber?
Rookie of the Year.
No, Barber didn't get it. That's right. Vickers did.
No. And Lindros didn't get it. Lindros got the Hart Trophy the 1 year. So, because somebody named Timu Solani decided to show up and steal the spotlight that particular year.
You're welcome. Right? But these guys all have one thing in common: incredibly talented. I have no doubt that these guys. This is all right. So the thing I like about this year versus last year, we knew immediately who the Calder winner was going to be. There was no doubt in my mind that it was going to be anybody but Connor Bedard. We all knew it was going to be him.
Right.
Yeah.
This year, there's actually going to be a competition.
Yes.
There's Will Smith, insanely talented. Macklin Celebrini, insanely talented. Logan Stanky's insanely talented. Put these guys with the right players, and they're just going to produce. Cutter in Anaheim. That's an incredibly talented top six. And as a fan, I'm incredibly excited to see him play. I know I'm the only one in the area excited about that, but
pretty much.
Well, you're allowed.
Even
I mean, you know,
there could be a dark horse too. Like somebody could come out of nowhere. Like this, there's no sure thing in this one. Like last year, we thought it was gonna, maybe Leo Carlson can make a run. And if Leo Carlson didn't have as many injuries as he did, he probably would have made a push. But Wyatt Johnson could have made some noise. I thought Wyatt had a phenomenal rookie year. Should have been in the conversation, and he was. But I don't think he had as good a year as Connor Bedard. He didn't really, to me, and Priz, correct me if I'm wrong, he didn't really come on until later on in the season anyway. Then he really kicked in the door and burst on the scene, especially in the playoffs. He had a fantastic playoff run for Dallas.
He definitely
Bedard
did.
also missed a lot of time last year too.
Yeah, just imagine the numbers if he didn't miss that time.
Yeah, I think he missed. Didn't he miss like a month or two?
Yeah, it was about 2 months. I think he remember him
Broke
having
his
a
arm
neck
against
injury.
the Rangers, and then he missed I think a month or two.
Do you think that we kind of have an idea of what Bedard's going to be? Like, I know it's only just been his rookie year, but comparing him to the last two franchise players that Chicago had between Kane and Taves, which one do you think he's leaning more? Do you think he's leaning more towards the showman of Kane or to the all-around leader of Taves?
Taves.
I have to agree. It's Taves.
Taves.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't see him as like a completely natural goal scorer. Kane was a Mike Bossy type player. I mean, if he had the puck, he'd find a way. The puck would somehow get into the net. Henrik Lundqvist used to say about him that when he was in tight, that the stick angles that he would use to shoot were insane, that nobody else in the league could do. And that's why that's why he was so tough to stop in front of the net.
Yeah, that's true. Priz, we were talking about Bedard. I was saying, what one does he lean more towards? Does he lean more towards Kane or does he lead more towards Taves? So feel free to throw out your opinion on that one, brother. Yeah, apparently, he's a little busy right now. It might be 10:01 from my clock, but it is 4:20 over there. Eileen, meanwhile, how are you? Hope you're doing well tonight. And he goes on to say Taves as well.
It's been a while since we've seen you in the chat there, Miss Eileen. Where have you been?
She's been busy. She's been busy tracking down, Hot Rod. So,
I know where he is. He's in Raleigh, North Carolina. Short little 5.5 hour drive from where she is.
And let's see. Me Metal Mike saying Bedard or Wright, who has a better bounce back season?
It's Bedard.
Bedard, yeah. Right?
Right.
He's spending more time in the AHL than he has in the NHL so far.
Right has to grow up and stop being such a meathead.
And
he's got too much talent. He's got too much talent to be such a meathead.
Yeah. But also, Me Metal Mike, he said earlier, if Johnny was on those early 2000 Sens teams, sounds great. Here's the problem. They always play Toronto. So unless you can get Toronto back into the Western Conference, Sens still win nothing. So just done with that. Anyway.
Shane Wright played 8 games last year, 4 goals, 1 assist for 5 points. So he made his 8 games count. But altogether, he's played 16 games in the NHL. He's got a little bit of growing he needs to do. Until he plays a full 82 games and matures a little bit, which is why the main reason why he's in the AHL is because he's got to mature a little bit. It's always going to be Bedard.
Absolutely. And she said, by the way, I've been busy with unfavorable bullshit, but I'm back. We're happy to have you back. And she also says, I miss Brindy. Yum. Well, guess what? Brindy's going to be back soon because the NHL is going to be back soon. So there you go.
Yeah, you got what, another 3 weeks to go?
Yeah,
3 weeks.
In 3 weeks
until training camp.
Hockey.
I know,
and you know what?
Exciting.
Hockey is the only sport that I actually like to watch preseason.
Well, it's also cool because you never know. Sometimes there's somebody comes out of training camp and makes the team. Sometimes it happens.
And you know what? And payback is always a bitch in those games too. certain guys who treated other certain guys disrespectfully usually find that the payback in preseason is not a good one.
All right. So with that, I believe it is time to wrap this guy up. Any final thoughts on the Calder talk before we finish this guy?
You sure you want it?
I mean, you're on the show.
Are you sure? Because you're not going to like what I have to say.
I already know who you're picking to win the Calder.
Of course I'm going to pick Cutter.
Yeah.
Because that would be the ultimate slap in the face of Philadelphia.
It would be. And it's a very homer pick of you.
It is a very homer pick. But you know what? It's not very often that as a Ducks fan, I get to pick a guy to be Rookie of the Year. Although, Prez, great dark horse, because he could be in the talk for Calder as well.
That would be very cool if Oscar was to pull that off. Thank you, Eileen. You have a good night as well. And honestly, if I'm going to go with my pick, you know what? I'm going Michkov. Hell yeah. All the way. We're just going. It's Michkov versus Cutter to the very bitter end. We're going to find out who has the better rookie.
Homer talk. Let's go.
Read it out, guys.
Okay, we're.
I don't know. I mean, he'll be lucky to make the team, let alone get any ice time. I mean, he's a left wing. I don't know where he's going to play. I mean, like not first line. Not playing over Kreider, right? Not playing over Lafreniere, I don't think. So not. Yeah, maybe not.
Yeah, Goon reference. There's nothing wrong with a good Goon reference. I saw Benny's Vinny's comment up there.
So with that, ladies and gentlemen, we thank everybody for joining us for this edition of Flyers Talk A2D. We hope everybody stays safe and stay healthy out there. And to finish this up, we were brought to you by the doc, Dr. Paul Vidal, over at Specialized Physical Therapy. You got any aches and pains, the doc's the guy to go to so you don't have any more aches and pains. And we hope everyone is a great night. Next week, we'll be back here, and we'll keep you guys going with whatever news pops up for the Flyers and obviously hockey in general. And, won't be too long before we get to see what the training camp rosters look like. So it'll be real interesting to go through them and see what ones really pop up as highlights as we get closer and closer to that preseason start date, and then even closer to that regular season start date. But anyway, from all of us here, stay safe, stay healthy. And I said it at the beginning of the show, and I'm going to say it now. If you're drinking, please let this tragedy be a lesson to everyone out there. Don't drive. Don't. Uber or have a DD. Do not drink and drive.
And if you forget about Johnny, remember Pelly Lindbergh.
Absolutely. Remember the tragedies from drinking and driving. Don't do it.
Exactly.
So stay safe, stay healthy, don't drink and drive, and we'll see you guys next week. Peace and love, everyone.
We love you guys. We'll miss you, Matt. We'll miss you, Johnny.